Hey everybody, Jessica Morrison, Realtor here with Ferris Property Group based in Indianapolis, Indiana. We are back with another preferred home vendor with Ferris Property Group. Each year we open that up and we only take the best of the area. And in this case, we get to sit down with Emily Ewing and Aardvark Home Inspectors. Emily, thank you for taking time out of your evening to talk with us. What is Aardvark? Why should we pay attention to you?
Of course. We're so happy to be a part of your guys' program. You guys took us in when we were just kind of starting in the Indianapolis area, so we really appreciate that and taking a chance with us. So we're a home inspection company. I feel like we kind of have the same values, especially as Ferris Property Group. You guys are really team oriented and like I would say almost family focused. And I feel like that's exactly what Aardvark is too. We're a local company, family owned, and we just have really good values, I feel like, and we really care about our customers and the relationships that we have. So I feel like in terms of what makes us different from the other home inspection companies, I feel like we very much value relationships.
Okay. So yes, and I would agree. I've actually heard my manager Todd say at one point that he just really hates, I think the verbiage was something around, oh shoot, of course my mind's going to blank, but it was something like corporate. I think he doesn't like calling it meetings.
Yes.
It's just, he's very family oriented and you could kind of tell there's this presence of like a straight jacket coming on. He's like, no. And it's nice to hear that that's the impression that you've gotten thus far, because I know that family values are something that's very important to us. We want our agents to feel like they can have a good work-life balance or prioritize family, also valuing those relationships as well. And so we've, again, as those watching will observe, we're very particular about who we partner with for certain things. So family values, as far as getting down to the grit with home inspections, why is it, Emily, that home inspections are valuable? And why should a client, work with a professional? Maybe if you are aware of, can you speak into the process of how someone becomes a home inspector and how that's different than just being a general handyman?
Yes. Okay. So I will say that I'm the marketing director, so I'm a little bit more on the back end, but from what I know in terms of how you become an inspector, there is licensing involved and some courses you have to take. All of our guys, they have been with us, I think the longest inspector who's been with us now, it's going on 7 years, and everyone else has been with us for over a year now. So they've definitely had a lot of experience. We like to choose people to kind of with the background of, we have a lot of people from different backgrounds, but a lot of them come from construction, come from plumbing, like, what is that called? The service, like service?
HVAC or?
Maybe like handyman. They all come
I see.
background, essentially almost all of them. But in order to become one, yeah, you have to take courses, get licensed. All our guys are licensed with pest inspection too. So there's a lot that goes involved with it. I'm not sure on the time frame of how long it takes. But yeah, you definitely have to be certified, and we're definitely picky in terms of who we take on. But that's kind of how you get into it. And then in terms of why you should get one and the importance, that was one of your questions too, right? Well, I can say from my personal experience, I did not get a home inspection. And it's kind of something that I really regret, just because there's been a lot of things that have popped up. And I know now, especially working for Aardvark, that they would have brought a lot of it to my attention, and not that it would have factored me actually purchasing the home, but it would be nice to know what's going on. So when I go to sell again, at least I have some sort of, which I could always get a pre-listing inspection, which is nice, which is probably what I'll do whenever I go to sell. But it's super important. I mean, buying a home, this is such a huge investment. So just being aware of what you're buying, and if the good, the bad, and being able to not go through with something too, and that could potentially be a lot of money. So it's really important to get a home inspection. I know a lot of people have been waiving them too in this market, which of course that's completely up to them, but we definitely highly encourage that you still at least get one, just to be aware.
Yeah, I have never in the 8 years I've been doing real estate encouraged a client, and I never will encourage a client to waive a home inspection. Everybody has their own cup of tea on how they do real estate. That is just something in my mind that is 100% worth every penny. And I will say that, you know, I've even heard a lawyer say at one point, like, they don't like home inspectors because, you know, they're not on the hook for anything. Like, it's very much in black and white that they can't be held liable if they miss something. And that's very frustrating if you're, you know, expecting people to catch everything or to catch at least the big things. And unfortunately, these are people, they do make mistakes. And sometimes it's just like, I feel like I'm regressing here on the value, but just to say in a sense that this is something that is worth spending the money on time and time again. And there are unfortunate situations where it's a very small percentage where something does get missed, but you know, at least you can go in as fully aware as possible of the true condition of the property, especially within the reasonable limitations of the home. Obviously, we can't see behind drywall, so
Yeah.
we're not going to be testing for certain things, or you can test, you know, like if mold's really important for you. There are certain types of additional testing kits that are out there that maybe you can speak into, Emily, for what you guys offer. Or when it becomes necessary to seek a third-party home inspector, where do you suggest, let's say you've got a first-time home buyer and they're buying a property that's almost 100 years old, everything's old, but you know, it's affordable and they know that it's not going to be perfect, but at what point does it become at what point does it transition from a general home inspection to seek true professionals where necessary for specific items? Does that make sense?
I think so. I think I know what you're getting at. In terms of what we would think would be the most important thing, or if something were to come up on the report. Is that what you're?
Yes, when you start to clarify, and that can help customers protect potentially, just the heart of the question is helping manage expectations with what becomes a home inspector versus when we start to get quotes. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. You're fine. Yeah, so our inspectors are going to go through everything inside and outside of the home. They'll kind of express the importance. That's why we kind of love when the buyers, I think we spoke about this before when we were presenting with you guys. We really enjoy when the buyers come and the buyer's agent comes, so we can kind of reiterate what we think is super important, what we think needs to have a little bit more attention and seek professional help. So we aren't plumbers, we aren't electricians, but we'll point out, hey, that GFI, we think that you need to hire a professional to come look at it, a professional electrician. So we'll just kind of reiterate in person and on the report that we would suggest that you get a professional to help with that. I hope that answered your question.
It does. Let's talk for a minute about the length of a home inspection. Should prospective buyers attend? Why is that valuable?
So the length, typical, I would say like 1,500 square feet, I think. And I don't want to don't quote me exactly on this, but it does take, I would say, like 2 hours for a standard size home. It could be more. And we always suggest, so when the buyer will call or when the buyer's agent will call to schedule, we'll always say we recommend you coming kind of towards the tail end of the inspection. And that goes for the buyer and the agent, just so you don't have to walk around the house with them and be bored, essentially. Of course, we don't mind if you do, but we would suggest coming a little bit towards the end, maybe like with a half hour left, and then the inspector will kind of do a quick overview of the report. And then once you receive the report, he's always going to be available to you too, to answer any further questions.
So one of the most common questions I get is, where are the limitations with a home inspector versus, like, say you have a well and septic system, at what point does that become necessary for third party? Because you guys are, again, only going to be generalists so far. Does that also make sense?
Yes, I believe so. We actually, our guys are certified for well inspections, air quality. We have a lot of additional services. So, oh my gosh, I can't see. I told you she'd jump up here.
No, I have been like fielding in the background. My cat managed to open the door just now. And while you've been talking, I've been trying to field him. So we are good now.
We're on the same page.
No,
we're cat lovers. We unite.
Work from home life.
Yes. But yeah, so we do well inspections, sewer scoping. So we do have guys who can do all of that. But again, I think after that's completed, and again, I'm not entirely sure in terms of, well, yeah. So sewer scoping, I guess if we found that a pipe was bursted or something, we would revert that to a professional. We can't fix it, but we would be able to tell you if it needs to be fixed. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, kind of. So what does it mean when you say that you're certified? Because let's say that they come out and they inspect the property for a well and it's found to be faulty or in disrepair. Are you able to go at length to specify what needs to be done? And actually, I think I'm answering my own question, but
because I will be able to answer it.
Well, I've heard it said from a different person that inspectors can't give quotes because of insurance reasons, or I'm not entirely sure, like the limitations of the license where that falls. But I guess what I was looking to clarify again was where a home inspector begins and where that getting specific with the type of repair that needs to be done. I'm sorry if I keep asking the same question.
No, it's okay. And I hope that I can answer it to an extent, but sorry.
Yeah.
So yes, if we can't, and you're right, we can't really say it's going to be $5,000. It's going to be this certain amount of money. So we can't give quotes in terms of that. We do have a quote calculator actually on our website. So if something needs to be done, we pull from a bunch of different local companies and they can kind of give you a quote, but of course that's not coming straight from us. But yeah, I in terms don't really know where we would say, or like if we would say this is what the ABC needs to be done. I think we would just say it's, and I can confirm this and get back to you but
yeah, I think maybe that's a too technical question.
Yeah, I just don't know.
That's
because
okay.
I'm not doing the inspections.
That's fine. And honestly, for anyone watching, this isn't trying to, please don't think less of Emily because she can't answer this very technical question. It's honestly something that I think even if we did have a home inspector sitting here, they would just say that it would depend on the property, it would depend on the condition. And most often, in my experience, at least, when it becomes a material defect, they're going to tell you to seek professionals where necessary or specialists. And I think that's just because they're looking to differentiate between, like, they're just here to inspect, and then we'll have someone else come out and do the quote. And, you know, if Aardvark does do more than that, then I will let that particular home inspector speak into the specifics of your property and your situation. I just, the heart behind that series of questions, Emily, is just because a lot of times I think sometimes people go, oh, well, these are the major things that I'm concerned about. Why wouldn't I just have quotes done? And there's so many different layers to a home inspection report, and safety issues. I don't know if you want to talk about that for a minute. What does a general home inspection cover as opposed to I guess the alternative would be you just piecemealing different contractors to come out and give quotes on different things.
Yeah, so like, do you want to know how a report words things? Is that kind of what you're asking?
Yes, I know how they work. I'd love to hear you say
Right.
to someone watching who's never had a home inspection report given to them, what does that entail?
Yeah, and I would love to pull one up and share it. That would be kind of something that I would love to see, even though the agents probably have seen reports similar. But so like you said, our report specifically, we have a ton of photos in it. So we take pictures of everything. We'll open the fridge, take a picture of the fridge, make sure the fridge is running, make sure the light's working in the fridge. And then when you jump down to the report summary, so it will list windows broken, we recommend it get repaired, or say something more serious, like the water furnace isn't right. It's not a water furnace. Wait, that's how
The water heater.
water heater.
Okay.
That's embarrassing. That says how much I know. But
It's the end of the
say-
day. It's okay.
Yes, it will say that it's not working and it needs to be serviced. So it lists things like that. Is that something I could share? Just like jump to a.
As long as you have permission to share that report, a lot of
Yeah.
times, if you have like a general or like a generic report, that's fine. I just
Yeah.
don't want you to get in trouble by sharing a previous home inspection report, because that's the property of the buyer or the
Yes.
person who purchased that. So yes, go ahead if you've got
We
something.
do have a
Yeah.
generic one that I can
Okay.
share, but thank you for double checking with me. Pull it up just so I can kind of show you the wording, because I feel like I am just not doing the wording justice.
That's okay. And to be fair, I feel bad for anybody watching this for the last 10 minutes, because you and I both were frazzled because our cats decided to be a part of this interview for a minute.
Everything's just kind of going wrong, but it's fine.
This is free entertainment for those watching.
Yes, that's
And
what I would say.
I hope you enjoy.
Okay, so I'm just gonna pull just really quick. I'm just gonna share this section. Just so you can kind of see the wording. Oh, where did you go? There you are. Okay, so let me share the screen real quick. Oh, I think you have to enable the sharing.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because we had to restart
We had a little false start.
technicalities.
I think
You should
that
be good
was-
to go.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make sure it's the right one. Yep, here we go. Okay. So share. So I'm trying to find a good one. So like sink water stopper missing. I mean, those are just basic things. And if they're there, they would say, we were like, if you needed to just go buy this part and fix it. So we always give, if it's not a major issue, they're not going to tell you what to do, but they'll be like, oh, just don't be too frazzled about this because this is an easy fix. I think this one, recommend repair by licensed electrician. So the outlets on the rear wall, bedroom 4 did not have power. So then we would say recommend repair. So that's something I wouldn't say it's a major thing, but it's definitely, you'll want power running to the house. So that's kind of how the wording is, which I think was your question.
Do you specify what is a major, like some reports I've seen say satisfactory, fair, poor, or
Yes.
major defect or safety issue? How do you classify your reports?
So we've seen that too, or heard people talk about that where it's like major, minor. We don't ever really categorize it like that. We just have everything that we want to bring attention right here where it says deficiency found on the home inspection. And we don't really clarify major or minor. We'll just say recommend repair if it's something that really needs to be looked at. This is a safety issue until corrected. We recommend further review repairs by qualified HVAC professional. So we don't do the major minor though. So
okay.
yeah. we kind of list everything in one spot, and then I feel like the majors, we would just recommend a licensed professional to come look at it.
Right. Okay. Yep.
We would never say like your house is gonna burn down.
I mean, you could. I don't know if people
could.
would buy it after that. But.
Yeah, we don't ever say things like that, but if it's a major, you'll be able to tell that it's something like we'll also say things like safety issue, just so people know to increase occupant safety.
Yeah. So, I mean, to recap, a standard home inspection, depending on square footage, tends to be about 3 to 4 hours. Again, if it's smaller, it could be less than that. We always encourage you guys to attend, and as buyers and agents sometimes will attend. I typically don't, just for liability purposes, and I never want my schedule to be something that causes a client to, like, I want people to get in there when it's most convenient for them. But when it comes to the negotiations, being able to certainly have that inspector at hands, or, sometimes being present is helpful to understand the scope or the nature of those repairs. I think in a differentiator capacity, I like it when those, especially as a listing agent, when I can see reports that do classify how great of an extent a repair is needed. Because if you have, I was in the market where it was more buyer friendly, and you would have some people come and just, ask for all sorts of repairs. And when you're sitting down with your seller trying to decide what to evaluate and, where to spend time getting quotes on different things, there was one situation where I had a buyer who insisted that we ask for the window screens to be replaced, like trivial things. It was a cost to them. They had the right to ask for it. But when you're a seller and you're trying to evaluate the cost of repairs or the cost of what's truly necessary if you issue a credit to a particular contractor, being able to understand, oh, like, this might not sound like it's expensive at face value, but it's flagged as major or a safety item, is helpful. And I recognize that you guys run your business differently, and that's not to say that that's a bad way. It's just different. So I guess all of that to say, it's always interesting to see how different home inspection companies run their business. And I know that you guys, because you are family oriented, really work to have that relationship to make sure that people understand the true extent of repairs that are needed. Is there anything at the time of the inspection that you feel your inspectors do that just really sets you guys apart, or above the cloth with maybe some of your other competitors? I don't know if that metaphor made any sense.
No, it does. I would just say our inspectors, we always do monthly meetings with everybody, and we go over any complaints we received, any issues that even the inspectors are like, hey, this happened, and we kind of talk about things. So we're always working on being better. But I would say one of the things that all our inspectors have is patience. I mean, we'll sit there. We've had some of our guys come back and be like, I sat there and the buyer, they were asking us questions for like a half hour, and they don't mind. I mean, they know exactly what they're getting into. So I think they're really good in terms of being personable and really answering questions, especially for first-time home buyers. But they're all very smart guys too. So of course I can tell you how great they are, but until you personally experience one of them, they're just another person. But I think they're great in terms of they know what they're doing, and they're very professional and friendly. It's a good combination of both.
Sure. And something that, if you're a prospective buyer watching this, you're about to have a home inspection. I have seen some occasions where buyers get very excited and they want to follow the inspector around like a puppy dog. And, I would too. It's a very curious thing, like, to understand what they're doing, how they're evaluating things. And, I've seen situations where they get the inspector chatting, and it's very easy to distract them or to take away their focus from maybe a checklist that they might have. And that could cause them to miss something that they need to evaluate on your report. And so, you're welcome to keep your distance. They may even invite you to talk with them about something to make things easier on the back end with the summary and when they go over all of that. But I would just suggest to let them do their home inspection, because then they're focused, they're not getting interrupted. And then at the end, maybe make a list of questions and go over those with them at the time of the summary. That way, there's a reduced risk of something getting missed or distracted. And then if you have questions as well about maintenance or where your water main is or the electrical panel, all of that stuff, if you've never had to maintain a home before, a lot of times they're more than happy to show you those things and explain, why you should have your water heater flushed every year and, some of the causes with problems if that doesn't happen. So Emily, would you agree with that? Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I totally understand that. If I would have gotten one, I'm sure I was so excited that I would have followed them around just looking. And that's one thing I'm glad you brought that up. We do have, if you are a first time home buyer and you want to go, we have something that's printable on our website, and it's a buyer's measurement sheet. So if you want to go, you can measure the bedrooms. It lists like the standard size of beds. If you have a dresser, a certain size, so then you can kind of walk around, make any notes that you do want to ask the inspector. I mean, I would utilize them. They know a little bit about everything. I feel like you have to as a home inspector. So if you do have those questions, that's what they're there for. So I would ask them. And then you were talking about that. And I just wanted to bring up a quick story about one of our inspectors in the wintertime. The crawl space the access point was frozen shut. So he took a hair dryer and tried to thaw it out. So he was there for like an hour thawing it out. So I definitely think they'll do anything for them. So that's one thing I really think that.
Yeah, wintertime.
It's awful.
It's funny how that never makes it into the real estate reality TV shows.
I know.
I feel like there's just something special about when you're showing buyers houses in the middle of winter. God love my former team leader. When I first got into real estate, he was a connection. He was my husband's former realtor, and I had an interest, and I sat down with him for coffee for 15, 20 minutes, came with a legal pad, 20 questions, and he offered me the opportunity to go shadow him for 2 days. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I just won the lottery. I didn't know his background or production or anything. I just thought, wow, that's a really cool opportunity. And Emily, this is the beginning of January, dead cold. Yeah. 7 a.m. we meet in the parking lot. The first 3 houses were it was I think 2 degrees outside.
Oh gosh.
For no heat. And
no heat?
Yeah, they were all foreclosures.
Oh,
and
no.
We stood there talking with the buyers in each of the houses for probably 30 minutes. So you got christened real quick.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, what a way to get into it.
Yeah, we went both days 7 to 6. And I remember thinking getting home the first night and being I'm just gonna go to bed.
Yeah. And I applaud you realtors too, because I feel like you trying to show houses and sell them in the wintertime, I feel like it is kind of adding a little challenge to you, because I know in the wintertime I'm everything looks dreary to me, and it just really use your imagination, I think, sometimes, especially when there's no heat.
I could probably do 30 minutes on just the stories of doing open houses, because you don't think about it. And I know this is a total tangent from our initial discussion, but I know people find this interesting. You would not think about how difficult it is to put open house signs in the ground in the middle of winter, but gosh darn it. I, on more than one occasion, have considered taking a drill with me, even in the middle of summer when it's rock hard dirt. So it's never a dull moment. The wild card is always regardless of what type of vacancy in the wintertime, you have to be really careful about if the driveway's been cleared or not, if the front walkway's been cleared. It's amazing how many trip hazards I've had. And then like, I can just see it now, like a cartoon. You get out of you make it up to the door, and then there's the lockbox.
Yeah. And then there's a whole nother issue.
Yeah, well, and for those who aren't familiar, a lot of times in the winter, that lockbox will get exposed to the elements. It'll get covered with water, ice, snow. Sometimes the electrical components will stop working. And as you can imagine, standing there with clients trying to get in from the freezing cold, it gets annoying real fast, which is why a lot of people shift to combo boxes in the wintertime. So yeah, there's never a dull moment in real estate. Especially around home inspections.
Yeah, for real, yes.
So I guess in the few minutes that we have left, let's say that we have a prospective client here who's either looking to book their first home inspection or are trying to decide between 3 or 4 different home inspection companies. What are some questions that they need to be asking?
Well, I guess it's hard because I know buyers call in and they do have tons of questions. Being in the office and hearing the girls answer like tons of questions. They have all sorts of questions. What do I need to get done? And if you call us, we're going to recommend, well, if it's an older home, we'll probably say you might want to get a sewer scope done. But we always talk about all the additional services that we have too. So you're calling in, you want a home inspection, we'll say, do you want to get a radon test? Do you want to get a water quality test? Do you want to get your well inspection again? Depending on, we look up the home and we'll see that it's an older home. We'll probably recommend that. But ask whatever questions. And I mean, we'll always help in terms of what we would think. But we, of course, are always going to say, you might as well get it all done and know everything about it while you're initially doing the home inspection. So you might as well know about radon, you might as well know about everything else.
Yeah.
So we'll probably recommend it all. Of course, you don't have to get that. We're not going to pressure you, but we will say, do you want to get this? Do you want to get this? And they'll answer any questions you have regarding that.
Sure. And I think sometimes people hear that and they go, oh, they're going to nickel and dime me for everything.
Yes,
or, oh, those are just add-on services that I don't really need. And I would challenge that. You've never lived in the home, you didn't build the home. And even if you did build the home, that doesn't mean they built it correctly.
Yeah.
So I 100% think that those additional services are worth it. And I would argue the older the home, the more that those things will need to be necessary. So speaking into that, there was something that you just, radon.
Yes.
Radon is everywhere, guys. So it doesn't matter the type of foundation. I had a client a long time ago. I don't know how much of it was from the fact that he was from a different country, and I don't know if there was a cultural misunderstanding involved. But he was very insistent, like, no, radon is only if you have a basement. And I've seen radon reports come back on a slab. So Emily, like, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, no, you can't predict where it's at. It doesn't matter the age of the home, if it's a brand new home. I mean, it comes in up through the ground, through cracks, through foundation, anything. But I will say a quick story too. I know I feel like we keep going off and off, but we had someone who was very adamant that their house did not need tested for radon. It was a pointless test, blah, blah, blah. We ended up testing it. It was 97.7, which it's anything over 3 picocuries per liter, right?
3.9. Yeah.
3.9. Yes. Anything, whatever is considered elevated. And they actually were moving once he found the results of that, got very emotional, and they were moving from the home to be closer to a hospital because their wife had stage 4 lung cancer, and it's the second leading cause of lung cancer among non-smokers. So
wow.
But we definitely think that it's something that you should be aware of at least, because it is there and you can't really predict if it's going to be in your house or not.
Yeah. I've also heard that if it rains,
The weather
right,
factor.
yeah, that it can facilitate a higher, like, I don't know if it's immediately after a rainstorm because the ground is aerated and therefore like releasing more gas. Like I know with plants, at least it's my understanding that this occurs that, if there's a thunderstorm that comes along and the thunder and lightning creates a reaction that causes more nitrogen to get
Yes.
come into contact with the soil, and that causes the grass to grow faster. Anybody in biology or herbology, I think that's the right word. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but
You sound like you're right. I don't know. I'm gonna go with it.
my point though is just that, there's a lot going on and that can stir up more gases potentially coming into that reading. So I know we've covered all sorts of different things, and I think that's just truly reflective, Emily, of the nature of what home inspections uncover. To recap, what does a general home inspection include?
So again, they're gonna look at anything inside and outside of the home. So they'll look at the roof, spaces, attics, check all the appliances, check all the electricity. Basically they go over, I'm just looking at my house to see, they look at everything. So anything that you wouldn't really be aware of too. I mean, it took me 4 months before I even realized I have an attic. Which is just me being ignorant, but we're gonna go places and in the basements and just make sure everything, like the water heater and the furnace, we're gonna look at those. All the major appliances, any outbuildings too, we can also inspect. So
Yeah, and to clarify, if you do have a property that's in the country, a lot of times those outbuildings will be a separate inspection or an additional cost, because I think sometimes people assume that when they're paying for that it's all inclusive, and it's typically just one dwelling unit for that. So, okay, well, Emily, I know that you had mentioned your website had a ton of resources, not only available for consumers, but also for realtors. What is the best URL or way for people to get in contact with you? And is there a specific page they should go to access those?
yes, I will go ahead and just share it with you, just so you can look at it. I think, here we go. Okay, you got it. You can see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So yeah, it's aardvarkinspect.com. You can request a quote. It'll just call. You can also schedule online. Our services, so that goes over everything. I know we briefly talked about our services, but like I said, I know if you have a pool, that's a very kind of unusual one. We do inspect the pools, lead, molds, radon, termite. Every inspection comes with a free termite inspection as well. So I think that's a little bit different than a lot of other companies too. We have extended warranties. So it kind of breaks down those, some options there. I wanted to talk about this too, because you were talking about how sometimes things come up. We just actually helped someone the other day. So all of our inspections come with a free 1-year termite warranty, a 5-year roof leak warranty, a 90-day home warranty, a 90-day sewer line warranty, and a 90-day mold warranty. And we just gave someone a $1,700 check to help for something that happened. So that's another huge thing I think for buyers that they should consider too. You're getting double the protection there, not only knowing what's all going on, but in case something were to happen, you have that you can fall back on to see if there's anything we can help with. And then these resources here, that buyer checklist, if you're listing or if you're selling your home, there's a seller inspection checklist, so you can go through and kind of see what you should be aware of before a buyer were to come in or before a home inspection. So there's things on here to go through and look at, and for realtors and for buyers too, and sellers.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And the fact that you offer a warranty after the fact on different items is very interesting. I would encourage I've not heard of a home inspection company locally offering that. It's really nice to see that stamp of workmanship or quality of workmanship guarantee in a way, because a lot
Yes,
of those
that's
reports are going to be, you know, hey, we're off the hook, and, you know, tough luck if something happens after the fact. So certainly, if you're a buyer considering working with Aardvark, make sure that you read the terms and conditions so that you're fully informed of any limitations that are around those warranties. But yeah, that's a very unique value proposition. So cool.
yeah. Well, there you go. That's our website.
Awesome. Okay, so go to the website, guys, if you have any questions for them or to schedule a home inspection. Obviously, those additional services are there to read in greater detail. I always think that they're worth it. The more you know, the better you can be informed. And then, you know, I tell people it's kind of like insurance. You hope that if you pay for it, you don't really need it. But if you pay for it and you find something, you're glad that you spent the money. So, and this is when you're purchasing a home, you have that due diligence period where that's that one and only time that you get to talk about potential repairs or getting a credit for the cost of repairs. And that credit is always to be made out to a specific contractor. It can't be made out to you directly as a check or credit. Sometimes you can adjust it with closing costs credits, but the seller can't say, oh, we'll give you $5,000. That's considered mortgage fraud. So, you know, practice your due diligence while you can and while you have that opportunity. And, you know, again, seek professionals where necessary. So if it becomes something that's a specialist, you can certainly get additional quotes after the home inspection for specific items. But Emily, thank you for your time. I know I kind of put you in a position to have to speak into things that you don't do every day, but thank you for entertaining those questions all the same.
Of course. And if I didn't answer anything like as thorough as I could, which I know I couldn't for a lot of them, any questions, you can always call our office and they'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. I can, you know, reiterate.
That's okay. It's an introductory video just to help people understand our awesome vendors. Again, guys, these people, they do care, and you can see that in the warranty that they offer after the fact. So connect with Aardvark if you have any questions about home inspections, and stay tuned for other preferred home vendors on our playlist over here on YouTube or the other social media channels. Thank you, Emily.
Thanks, Jessica.